What goes on behind the scene. We'll also be hearing about Celebration Day, the brand new Led Zeppelin film which came out tonight. Hearing a review from the Tight But Loose editor Dave Lewis, the fanzine for the band, and also from Hugh Manson, who was one of the technicians on the night at the O2 Arena. Will be telling us what it was like to walk on stage during that momentous concert. All that to come, plus reviews of other movies too. Right. Very soon we'll be hearing from Dave Lewis, who's the editor of the Tight But Loose fanzine for Led Zeppelin. The reason is there's a brand new film out this evening called Celebration Day. It's the concert of the O2 5 years ago. 20 million people applied for 18,000 tickets. I was lucky to be there. Hugh Manson, who was also there at the side of the stage handing guitars to bass player John Paul Jones, will be joining us in a little while. This is Good Times, Bad Times. And so, a landmark night in terms of cinema history, I think it's fair to say, for those of us of a certain, musical bent. Dave Lewis is one of those with a certain musical bent. Good evening to you, Dave.
Good evening.
That's fair to say, isn't it?
I think that's very fair to say indeed, Vic, yeah.
Yes. Now, let's talk about Celebration Day. It was one of the great rock gigs. I mean, we've talked about this before. Led Zeppelin, O2, reunion 5 years ago. Trying to be objective about this, where does it sit?
Well, having seen the film and being lucky enough to see it Friday night when they were actually there, it was pretty exciting. Where does it sit? Well, it sits pretty much at the top of the tree. And the reason is, the way they've captured this film is simply astonishing. And I know everyone expects me to say that, but when they go and see the film, they're going to see it for themselves, because the way they've captured it, it does show Led Zeppelin, before your very eyes, finding themselves, again, amongst these three people, and obviously Jason. And it's incredibly thrilling to watch. I mean, on the night, it was a bit of a blur, really, looking back 5 years ago. But the fact that you can watch it now, and the way it's filmed, you're literally on stage with them. So all I can say is that anyone that goes to see it is going to be simply astonished.
Now, you were lucky enough to go to the news conference, weren't you, when they were at the Odeon in Leicester Square, I think it was.
Yeah, I did indeed.
You managed to get a question in, and it wasn't the obvious question, I don't think. They must be heartily sick of the obvious question, but the problem is, it's going to keep being asked, isn't it?
Yeah, it is going to keep being asked, and it's unavoidable that people are going to ask it. I think the thing you've got to think is that obviously, because they're back in the public eye, because obviously this film is out there, for the fair weather fan, it's easy to think that Led Zeppelin can now go and do something else, but it doesn't quite work like that. The fact they did what they did 5 years ago took a lot of planning, it took a lot of coaxing, and they did it for a good reason. The Ahmet Ertegun situation, the fact that he died, and they wanted to pay tribute to the guy that had helped them so much when, they were with Atlantic Records, all through that period. I think there had to be a reason, for them getting back together, and that was the reason, and it worked incredibly well. It would need something very special, I think, to do it again. It's 5 years on. They're all 5 years older. I'm not so sure that it could work as well as it did. They rehearsed intensively. So if this is the last goodbye, and I personally think it will be, people have got one of the best goodbyes you could ever have, because this film can be seen time and time again, obviously, when it comes out next month. And it's a great way of saying this is what Led Zeppelin was about. And the fact they could come back 27 years after, they sort of disbanded and do this thing again, I think is such a testament to their greatness. And, I think that, of course, the questions are going to be asked, but this is it. I can't really see anything else. I just can't. And it's been fantastic that they've been able to do it in the way they've done. And the fact they've all got, back together and done the press conferences and been very proud of it all, I think is a fantastic thing. So if it is the end, what a wonderful ending.
Yeah, and I think, it's very easy for us to say we're there, but, it was such a good one. You wouldn't really want to see them flogging around and then being poor night after night, because there is it's bound to be that tendency, because, as you said, they're that much older now, and do they really want to slog around the world effectively doing music that they recorded 40-odd years ago?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Vic, really. For one night only, there was magic in the air. When you get to the 40th gig, on a reunion tour, there's obviously not so much magic in the air. So I think the fact they walked away at the time was remarkable, because, again, there was such a pressure on them to do something, and we know Robert Plant, at the time, was with, Alison Krauss and doing that. And he wanted to move away from it straight away. So the fact they walked away just keeps the legacy intact. And I think, again, when people go and see the film, they'll realise that. They'll realise that, this was the one chance they had. Again, they had a lot to lose that night. We've said this time and time before, and the fact that they got up there and exceeded expectations says everything about Led Zeppelin. And the fact this film as well, I expected it to be good, but it does exceed expectations because it gets to the humility of the players, and this sounds like a lot of old waffle, but when people see the film, they will understand it's the emotions that they're going through, and you're watching it unfold as the songs are being played, and it's just a remarkable, tangible thing that you'll see, on the big screen. So, I think they had to walk away, and they did, and it's such a fantastic thing that it's there now for everyone to see.
A terrific night, and one which will never be repeated. And I think that's absolutely right what you're saying. And, who wants to see a load of old blokes sort of looking as though they want to be 25 again? That's never going to work, is it?
No, and it didn't look like that on that night 5 years ago. I mean, they looked great, the staging was great, the lighting was fantastic, the backdrops, which you can see in the film, worked so well. They worked really hard to really bring a package, and if you think about it, it's something that, in the 1970s Led Zeppelin couldn't do. There wasn't the technology. They did their best to do what they did. They were one of the first, bands to have a backdrop sort of projection, but it was nothing on the scale of the O2. 27 years later, there's a lot, things have moved on. So, again, you can see them, in a way, in the real best light because, they've been able to add on all the technology that's there now to be used. Also, the film sounds great. I mean, the sound is brilliantly mixed. Certainly, when I saw it last week, and I think in, all the provincial theatres, it will sound good because it's been mixed in such a way. The other thing to say about it, you're not going to watch a film, you're going to watch a gig, and the atmosphere will be like a gig. I think, it's in 43 different countries tonight, and that's just an amazing thing. It's all over the world, from Austria, Brazil, Argentina, New Zealand, you name it, it's going to be shown, and everyone will be able to clue into what this thing is all about. So it's a remarkable situation, remarkable thing that they've done. It's, it's so Led Zeppelin to do it like this. And something I've said in the last few days is, for a lot of people, this band is, it's not just a band, it's a way of life. And again, that's going to really clue in, I think, when people see this film.
Well, it should be great. And, I think the reception will be great because the gig was great, simple as that. And they do seem to do this. Every time you bring a magazine out, it's almost as if you phone them up and say, listen, we got another Tight But Loose coming out, so could you do something, please? And they've done it. Well, good timing.
Well, a complete fluke, Vic, I have to say, because this was kept under wraps in true Led Zeppelin style. There's been some rumours throughout the year, and I think every year it gets to Christmas and people think it's going to come out. But it was very quickly announced and it was very quickly finished, and I didn't really know till September, by which time I was well on the way with the magazine. So I actually had to relay quite a few of the pages to fit all this in because suddenly there was an avalanche of information that came through. But it was timely, and we just managed to get everything in, and the new magazine is out there. It's got a very good cover, which I actually took. It's a picture from the press conference. But I just clicked them right, and I've got to be pleased with it. So the magazine's out there. I mean, as ever, it's, to aid people's enjoyment of what's going on. I think anyone that sees the film, I'm sure, would enjoy the magazine. I might as well get the plug in. You can get it direct from my website, www.tightbutloose.co.uk. And I'm sure if you see the film, you'll love the magazine as well.
Well, the thing is, I saw the trailer at... I went to see a film the other week, and the excitement was there when the trailer came on. I mean, the point is, as soon as you see that trailer, it sort of sends a little shiver up the back of your neck, doesn't it? And,
absolutely.
Even the trailer, which is about a minute long, you just think... Boy, oh boy. All right, let's be honest about that. The sound sounds as though it was cleaned up just a little bit for the night. But there's nothing wrong in that intrinsically. And as long as it captures the magic of that incredible night 5 years ago, I think that it's done its job, hasn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. In fact, having seen it, as I say, you don't really notice much of that. I'm sure there are some fixes here and there. But I think the atmosphere of the night comes over really well. And it does feel very live. It feels very much as though you are reliving, their moments and those moments that, were captured that night. So, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it stands up as a real sort of quality product, which people are going to enjoy time and time again. And again, for one of the most famous rock gigs of all time, it needed to be there. It's 5 years on now. I think whatever time it was going to go out, it was going to be big news.
Because there was talk at the beginning, wasn't there? They said if you aren't there, that's it. You're not going to see it on DVD or anything. I mean, I think that was originally the point, wasn't it? They weren't going to release it.
Well, I think they've all been, at pains to say that it wasn't done as a commercial venture that, let's do a concert, let's do a DVD. That's not the Zeppelin way of doing things. It was, let's film it, even if it's only for ourselves, if it's only for us to show, amongst our friends and family. But the fact that, obviously, it came out so well, I think John Paul Jones, really put it well when he said, it's 5 years, but in, Zeppelin terms, 5 years is quite quick. Nothing ever gets done quickly and never did in the Zeppelin world. Going back to the 70s, you waited months on end, for the albums to be finished or whatever. And so I think it's typical, for them it has to be the right time. And I think it's captured it's come at a great time because, again, music's going through various changes, and it was interesting how many, of the young bands went along last week, to see the premiere, people from the Killers, Kasabian, etc., Stone Roses. I think they all know that, at the end of the day, Zeppelin were pioneers, and to see them doing this thing again after so many years, whoever you are, whatever band you're in, you want to pay, your dues to. And I think, again, there'll be a lot of that, in the next few days when people actually see it and feel that this is what it was all about.
Those of us with birthdays in December, though, might get a little frustrated and might get a bit itchy with the old fingers in the wallet thing. It's a bit annoying, really, to be honest. But I would imagine a lot of Christmas stockings might be including this, mightn't it?
I think very much so. I mean, there are various formats. I mean, I think with the Blu-ray and DVD, there's an extra, which is the rehearsal footage, which, again, was shot a few days before they went to a full sound rehearsal. So that'll be quite fascinating to watch. It's going to be on vinyl, and I think that's obviously, for us vinyl, addicts, that's always good. So, yeah, it's going to look great, and you just know that they'll do it well. I think, the whole package will be worth having, and it will stand up, for all time as being, the right ending for Led Zeppelin, and that's, such a good thing. So I think, there's a lot of fun to be had with it yet. This is the film, we've got the DVD and Blu-ray, etc. to come. It's going to be a bit of a Led Zeppelin few months, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Or mine.
Good talking to you as always, Dave. Thank you very much.
As ever. Thanks for your time.
Dave Lewis from the Tight But Loose magazine on Celebration Day. In a moment, we'll be hearing from Hugh Manson, who happened to be at the side of the stage handing guitars to John Paul Jones, the bass player and keyboard player of Led Zeppelin. That's coming up very, very shortly. STFC 007, about Led Zeppelin touring. Would we want to see some old men on stage? Too right. Unlikely to happen, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it is unlikely to happen. But if you get a chance to go see the film STFC 007, you must.